Hello and welcome to Sri Lanka at 99.94 Cricket Every Day. My name's Mark Machado from the Merrily End, and I'm joined as always by Estelle Devon from the Papare, who I believe is joining us from Hobart. Sri Lanka at 99.94 is your new home for Sri Lankan content. We'll be dropping into your podcast feed on YouTube or the 99.94 app several times every week. So do please rate, review, and subscribe. Download the app. Tell your friends that Sri Lanka at 99.94 is here. Thanks for joining Cricket's Conversation. Almost mentioned a different podcast over there, Estelle. Estelle, you're in Hobart getting ready for Sri Lanka's game, which will be against either Scotland or Zimbabwe. We don't know at the time of recording yet who it's going to be.
It could be Ireland as well, I think.
Oh,
Two
yes.
wins
Yeah, of
each.
course. It could be Ireland.
Yeah.
I think we're well established that maths and working out tables or timings or anything like that is not my strong point on this show. So anyway, we know Sri Lanka are through to the next to the World Cup proper, as it were. We know that their first game will be in Hobart on Sunday. Estelle, can we just reflect before we go into the injury crisis? Can we just reflect on your emotions from that game against the Netherlands yesterday? It was a roller coaster for me. I thought we started well. We batted good. I felt good at the innings break. And then we kind of started bowling well. And then we kind of weirdly, I felt we let them back into it. And the last couple of overs were unnecessarily stressful. What was your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think similar to the Namibia game, they seem to kind of take their feet off the pedal in the end. Max O'Dowd was just biding his time, I felt, because see, what we have to think about is also that they've seen how we went against Namibia, and they know if they just kind of stick around, there are runs to be taken in those last couple of overs, especially without Sri Lanka being without their like three first choice pacemen. So mm, it looked like they kind of lost that intensity at the end, so it was nerve wracking. You should have been in the press box, I know. So one of the Aussie journalists, Jeff Lemon, was there, and he was thoroughly entertained by the Sri Lankan journalists because that over that Mahish Theekshana bowled, he bowled a no ball first up, it went for six. Then he bowled two wides, and the equation just kept getting better and better for Netherlands. But somehow, I mean, Sri Lanka doesn't like to do things the easy way, right? We ended up A1 anyway now, despite losing the first game. Uh, but it was all good. It was really entertaining cricket, and I'm glad that again a team like Netherlands was able to show that they can push the full nations as well.
Yeah, this qualifying group has obviously been a bit traumatic for Sri Lanka, more traumatic if you're the West Indies than in the other side of the draw. But it definitely has shown how far a lot of these. I'm going to use the phrase smaller, even though I don't want to be condescending, but you can see how far some of these nations are coming in terms of cricketing teams. T20 as a format is absolutely brilliant for them. And they're producing really good players. And I know people will come on and say, well, how many of the Dutch team are actually Dutch, or how many of the Namibian team are actually Namibian, or whatever. But that's not the point, right? Because it's spreading the game that we love. And on some level, that is important, though obviously I never want to see Sri Lanka lose to Namibia ever again. But we're over that now. We've moved on. Let's look forward.
Yeah, we're through. I said we're through as A1, as expected. So we can even pretend that first game didn't happen.
Exactly. And Namibia didn't even make it through. So, all their effort was for nothing. Can we get an injury update from you, Estelle? I know you're with the team. You're following the team in Australia. I feel like every time I go online, I see another injury issue that makes me nervous. Yesterday after the game, Nissanka was taken for an MRI scan, and I think there's issues with promote as well. What's the latest as we record on Friday morning UK time, which I know is obviously Friday evening for you.
Yeah. Um, so good news, I guess, is that Pathum Nisanka has not been ruled out. Um, it's a groin strain or a groin injury, which they're going to assess tomorrow. So they haven't decided whether he's going to start um, the Super 12 round. Same with Pramod Madushan. Of course, he missed the last game as well with a hamstring strain. So both of them will be assessed at training tomorrow, and then they'll make a decision on what's going to happen. So I hope, fingers crossed, Nisaka doesn't get ruled out, because I feel like our already depleted chances would be completely out the window if we lose him.
Yeah, I mean, Nisanka and Mendes have been so pivotal for our two wins so far, right? Kusal Mendes, again, really unfortunate not to bat all the way through the innings. And, you know, he almost had exactly the same innings that Nisanka had a couple of days before, right? We need to talk about Kusal Mendes a bit more because his strike rate is actually becoming quite good now. And Patton, just the two of them are just setting up a platform that we're using to win. So we definitely need both of them fit and firing and ready to go, right?
Yeah, I think Mendes's game is quite different from Nisanka's. Nisanka's, of course, he's a bit slower than Mendes. What's been impressive to me about Kusal Mendes is that he seems to have recognized finally that he does have the game to kind of play out those first few overs, and then really, take the attack to the opposition in the last 10. And that's what he did in the previous game. I mean, Sri Lanka was 60 for 2 in 10 overs, right, going kind of nowhere, and people were thinking they'll finish with I mean, we were thinking 130, 140 would be the score they end up with. It wasn't an easy track to bat on. It was quite slow early on. I feel like he missed out on maybe a century, even if the outfield had been quicker. I don't know if this is my bias, but I felt like it got a lot quicker as the game went on, and when the Netherlands were batting, and even in the next game. But when Sri Lanka came out to bat, everything was plugging, and they were like, I mean, they were timing the ball well, they were finding the gaps well, but the ball just was not traveling to the boundary. So Kusal Mendes, yeah, we do. I think we need like a completely separate episode on him. Maybe when he finishes among like the top run scorers in this tournament, but like on where he's gone, because he's he was a very similar player to Nisanka in some ways, but over the Asia Cup and yesterday what we saw from him is a much like he's at a different level now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, was it 55 runs and 30 balls that he ended up scoring?
He went from like 23, he was 23 of 21 and then 77 of 44.
Yeah.
So I'll leave you to do the math
No, you
off
can't. You
camera.
can't, Estelle. I can't do the maths on that. But yeah, it's very impressive, isn't it? And I did feel as well that
Yeah.
towards the back end of that innings, when he was still there, I thought that part of the Dutch plan was to just keep him off strike. Right, they wanted to bowl to whoever was at the other end, and we probably need to have a word about the middle order because that's not doing exactly what we expect it to do. But personally, I'm not that fussed by it at the moment because I think they're showing the right intent, right? And actually, if as long as we bat through the 20 overs, and if if we're still able to kind of form partnerships as well, we're just expecting the middle order to go a bit quicker, right?
Yeah, I felt yesterday's game they were much better than the previous one, but I just feel at Geelong, hitting straight is very, very hard. I mean, and that's where like Bhanuka Rajapaksha, Vanindu Hasaranga, Dasun Chanaka had struggled in the last 2 to 3 games, is because they are so. I think we spoke about this on Twitter as well, where someone had mentioned that it's probably even kind of muscle memory where they're so used to hitting straight and clearing those boundaries that it's tough now to make that adjustment, because square of the wicket where Mendes was getting his, I mean, he hit five sixes yesterday. I think Most all of them were square on the leg side, because those boundaries are short. It's just with the bounce and with the pace of the wicket, it's very hard to get the ball over the top straight. So they've struggled there, but I felt like yesterday, I mean, the probably the best thing was seeing Asalanka get some runs. Like, I mean, he did not look at at his best at all, but just, I mean, hit the middle of the bat a couple of times, get that confidence back. So yesterday I felt they were much better. So, like you, I'm not too fussed about Rajapaksha and Shanaka. I feel like, on their day, they're going to destroy any team in the death. But the 3 and 4 again, kind of a little bit of a worry, or that worry is still there, right? Because they aren't kind of producing the runs that you want them to produce the way you want them to produce it. But yeah, Geelong feel like those tracks weren't easy to bat on either.
I
So
I thought Asalanka's knock was quite inspiring in a way. I mean, I I'm sure I haven't deep dive into it because I basically have to stay off social media while we're playing. But I'm sure there was people who were upset by his run rate, sorry, his strike rate. However, he's a player who's coming into it with absolutely no form, and he managed to do the bits and pieces he needs to do to get to 30 runs, right? And that is so important. I was absolutely gutted for DDS not reviewing, and I don't really understand why he only bowled one over, but that's neither here nor there. And I'm sure if I'm sure there's reasons why he bowls so infrequently at this moment. But we've had 2 games, and DDS and Asalanka have both got runs at some point. In fact, all 4 of them have got runs. So maybe it's not, maybe it's not as bad a situation as we're making out. And actually, as you say, I think it was a hard pitch to score runs on. And, we were all expecting the score was closer to 200, but actually anything over 150 on both days was pretty good. Anyway, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're obviously talking about more Sri Lankan cricket.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So Estelle, I need to ask you about something though, because there was some tweets I did see about Rex Clementine winding you up on the car journey home, and saying that Sri Lanka
okay,
actually hadn't made the A1. They were was it B2 of A2. Right. So what happened? Because you got totally confused, right?
Yeah, I got really confused because, okay, so I wanted Sri Lanka to be A1 because I need to be somewhere on a particular day, right? Or I wanted to be there in a particular city. Um, and one of our colleagues, he wanted the opposite. He wanted A2. So we were driving back from Geelong to Melbourne because all of us needed to get back to Melbourne last night. And Rex was at the back updating the scores on the Namibia UAE games. Obviously, Namibia win means Sri Lanka is A2, UAE pull off a win, and then Namibia has knocked out Sri Lanka A1, right? And when we were leaving the grounds, Namibia was like 7 wickets down. So everybody expected UAE to win. So when we were driving, he was updating us, and obviously David Visa, who I love. He's amazing. And I'm really disappointed. I don't know why we missed that game. We missed the last 10 overs. Anyway, so he was telling us that, David Weezer hit a 6, so 12 runs off this over, 14 runs off this over. And it came to the last over and 14 runs to get. And then it came to 3 balls, 5 to win, according to Rex, right? Because none of us had our phones open or anything. And then he goes, okay, Visa hit a 6, and everyone in the vehicle celebrated because obviously it was a super knock because they came out of nowhere, and we were going. So I tweeted about it saying, "Oh, I'm disappointed that we are not A1, but you know, happy that we got through." And then so I got a message from someone saying we're A1. Then I checked the scores on Cricinfo, and he had been pulling a prank on the guy who was driving. So everybody was confused. For a good hour, we thought we were A2, but A1. So nobody had to change their plans, fortunately, because I'm supposed to fly out on the 24th from Hobart. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad that it was all sorted in the end, and I am glad that we're A1 actually, because I think the other group would have been just a little bit more difficult for Estelle. And actually,
You think so?
yeah, I do. I don't know why. I just get the feeling that the other group's a little bit more competitive. There's been so many messages about which group would you much rather be in.
Yeah.
And because I just think actually going in as group winners from the qualifying group, I know we lost the first game. I think weirdly, psychologically, that's much more important. I back this team to beat they've got it in them to beat anyone in the world. And I know playing Australia in Australia would be difficult. And I know the England team is stacked full of really great players. But I still think that we'd much rather be on the side of the draw that we're in than the other side. Well, I think the other side are too many tricky fixtures. I think the Asian teams on the other Asian teams can cause a lot of issues for us. And
I just feel like I feel like you can't really say either one is easier, because Sri Lanka, despite no matter what group they are in, obviously we are in the one with Australia and England, New Zealand, etc. But it doesn't change who the favorites are, right? You'd expect like India, South Africa, or Pakistan, South Africa, and England, Australia to go through. So whichever group Sri Lanka falls into, they're gonna have to cause like a couple of upsets to go through. So in that sense, I feel like it might be better playing this group rather than that, because like you said, we've played them a lot recently, and I don't think either one would have been easy or is going to be easy, but yeah.
what was the reaction like around the team when after they qualified yesterday? I assume was it just people being overjoyed, or was it relief?
Yeah, they were happy. I think they were pretty confident coming into the game as well. There's a little bit of panic in the end, like I mean, we can't go a game without drama, right? But I think they were pretty confident that they will go through, because like you said, if they can't beat this Netherlands team, then maybe it's not time. I mean, this is not our time to go into that Super 12 round. So particularly after the batting effort, they would have been really confident. It's just that last couple of overs that really, shook things up a bit. Yeah, so I don't think they want to show too much emotion, because they kind of want to be above it all also, because I mean, they expected to go through anyway. So yeah, but I mean, after that first game, they must be pretty, relieved more than happy, I think, because just imagine winning the Asia Cup after what, 14 years, was it? No, sorry, 8 years, and then getting knocked out of the World Cup in the first round.
And in Sri Lanka, probably more than anywhere else in the world, it appears that the Sri Lankan cricket fans judge you just on your last whatever you did, right? So if they'd got knocked out yesterday, winning the Asia Cup would have felt like it was 14 years ago, not that it was 4 weeks ago, right? So I imagine there was quite a sense of relief. And also my one worry is I think generally Sri Lankan cricket is in a good trajectory at the moment, and we've kind of we're building a decent squad, and if we didn't get out that qualifying group, somebody somewhere, some minister or something, or would have said something, and it would have caused a ripple effect. And next thing we know, that they'd throw the baby out of the bathwater. Chris Silver would have gone. heads would have rolled at SLC, and who knows what could have happened, right? And that's the kind of spiral that Sri Lanka's just kind of pulling itself out of. And we didn't want, I didn't want, at least, I don't know, Estelle, maybe you didn't want that to happen, right? Because I think, as I say, I think we're in a good place at the moment, and, you know, it's unlikely we'll win this tournament, but I think we should do better than we did last time, and that's, I think, at this point, all we can hope for, especially when you look at how young our team is as well. There's only, what, 2 players over 30 at the moment? Dashan Charnaka and Barnaka Rajapaksa, and well, Chamira is as well, but, you know, he won't be there for the rest of the tournament. So it's quite a young side.
And Dhananjay De Silva, I think.
Is he over 30?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought...
Yeah, it is. I think he's probably close to 30 or just over. But yeah, I mean, even last year, that's why I think everybody got excited about Sri Lanka, right? Like, you look at these guys, they're 24, 25 years old and already bossing things. I look at Mahesh Deekshan and Wanindu Hasaranga. They haven't been in international cricket for years and years. They're just starting things off. So yeah, that's you're absolutely right. I think about the whole the path we're on is a good one at the moment. And if we had got knocked out, then at least I don't know about Silverwood, but at least Shanaka probably would have lost his way. So it's for the team as a whole, it's a really good thing that we at least got to this stage. Now it's all about, I mean, trying to cause at least, think they'll be happy with if they can roll over either England or Australia and get wins against Afghanistan and whoever qualifies through the other side. I think 3 to 4 wins will be what they'll be aiming at.
Let's take a quick break. When we come back, let's look a little bit deeper into that, into Sri Lanka's next upcoming fixtures in the World Cup.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So Estelle, you're in Hobart. I won't ask you about the weather because really I'm not asking about the weather. I'm asking how you feel about being in the cold. But we'll leave that for today. You've got a lot of more travelling to come though, right? Because Sri Lanka are playing all over Australia in the next few days, right? I think you're off to Perth soon.
Yeah, so Sri Lanka will play Ireland, Zimbabwe or Scotland day after tomorrow. And then Perth on the 25th, Afghanistan. So yeah, Perth, Sydney, Brisbane, Sydney. Then hopefully a semi-final. Yeah, so lots of traveling for the boys as well. I think that Perth game is going to be tricky because they don't have much of a break. Game here is on the 23rd and they have to play on the 25th. So I don't think they'll have much time even to hit the nets on the 24th when they land, because of course huge distance between Hobart and Perth.
Yeah, let's look at this game on Sunday. We've mentioned the 3 teams that they could play: Ireland, Scotland, Zimbabwe. Whenever there is an Ashes, or actually last year's Ashes, there was a test match in Hobart, and the thing all the commentators were saying, who know a lot more about Australian cricket than I do, was that Hobart is the place that is closest to English conditions in terms of what the pitch might do, which is quite worrying for Sri Lanka if they've got to play either Ireland or Scotland, right? Because that's the kind of pitch Ireland and Scotland will be used to. That'll be their home pitches. Sri Lanka have decent records against both those two sides, but both those teams are teams who are developing quite rapidly, and the cricketing culture in both those countries is actually, it's a lot stronger than it was even 18 months ago, and even 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, the last time Sri Lanka was playing these teams. I don't want to say I'm worried, because I know Sri Lanka have better players than they do, man for man, but we can't have another Namibia situation, can we?
Yeah, it's another one of those tricky games, isn't it? Like, like the two we faced in the qualifiers, because you are expecting Sri Lanka to win. So that's the added kind of pressure, because if they were playing somewhere like England or Australia, even if they lose, I know they'd be disappointed, but there's a 50-50 chance there, right, that you win or lose. Here, everyone's expecting you to win. And like you said, Ireland, Scotland, Zimbabwe are not pushovers, right? I mean, Ireland pushed Sri Lanka last year as well in those conditions in UAE. I think Wanindu Hasaranga kind of and Pathum kind of rescued the team with the bat. So what's important again is that they don't relax, because that's what we've seen in the last two games as well. They didn't relax against the UAE, right? But that little period of play in a T20 game, 3 overs, 4 overs, where you kind of just take your eye off the ball, and suddenly the other team is back in it. And that's what happened against Namibia, and that's what almost, I mean, cost us against the Netherlands as well. So they have to be in the game, and you could see a little bit of frustration creeping in. Like, I mean, I don't know how much of it was clear in the telecast, but like between overs, there's a bit of chat. Shanaka not too happy with the likes of Binuru Fernando, and that one over where he got hit for 3 boundaries. After you asked me whether you should tweet about it,
Oh my God, yeah.
so like, so that there is a little bit of that kind of, they know what could happen, right? Because it's happened to them already this tournament. So I think in terms of the other team, that's what they'll want to be exploiting, because the Netherlands also held on so much because they knew that last 5 overs anything can happen, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think now it's so clear that teams are targeting Sri Lanka in the death overs, right? Because they don't think that we've got the bowlers to see us through
Hmm.
the end. We saw that yesterday, and we obviously saw that against Namibia, and that's the area that people are going to think is our Achilles heel. I do like, so just to clarify that incident that Estelle was talking about. Basically, during the game, I try not to, like. There's a few things I do. One of them is not look at the scorecard if I don't need to, and the other one is not tweet during the game. So if you do follow me on social media, please do follow at Mark Machado. You'll notice during the game I don't tweet, because for whatever reason I think it's bad luck to do it, and every time I do it, something bad happens. I'll only do it when I think of the results kind of near certain. And I was messaging Estelle and was like, oh, I think I can tweet now. I think Sri Lanka have won this. And then there was 3 boundaries of 3 balls in Binuru Fernando's I think it was his last over. And then off the back of that, Tikshana had that terrible over, which was the penultimate one. And it just felt, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I done? It just felt like it was all my fault, though. Obviously, I'm nowhere near Geelong. And no one would let me anywhere near the actual team in terms of giving them any sort of advice, or offering my input with a bat or a ball or anything like that. So it really has nothing to do with me. It's a totally psychological thing. But sadly, I am not just unable to count, but I'm also probably clinically insane. But there you go. Estelle, shall we leave it there? I'm really happy that there's so much more cricket for Sri Lanka to come. We know now they'll be involved at least for the next 2 weeks. And when will you be going to Perth? Because I think I'll probably next talk to you on Monday morning, right? Or my Monday morning, which would be your Monday evening.
I don't know when we'll talk again. It'll all depend on when I'm flying out. I'm flying out I'm very confused. I'll tell you afterwards.
Right. Anyway, have a good time in Hobart, and I hope it all goes well for Sri Lanka. Thank you for listening to Sri Lanka 99.94, where we speak cricket every day. Please do rate, review, and subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcasts. You can download the 99.94 app and follow us on Twitter. I'm at Mark Machado. Estelle is at Estelle_Vasude1, as in the number 1. Never miss out. Join our conversation 24/7 on social media. Follow us on 99.94 DM. Cricket every day your way.